رمضان ده حياتي شمعة لمماتي، يا رب دعاتي تقبلها عطول. رمضان ده رحمة من ربنا، نعمة بيحل حياتنا ويفرشها ورود.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome to another session of Wednesday class. But today, inshallah, we'll be discussing about Ramadan, more so the Fiqh of Ramadhan, the fast of Ramadan. As for the preparation of Ramadan, inshallah, you'll have lectures and khutbahs, inshallah. But we like to focus on the fiqh aspect of Ramadan, the laws pertaining to Ramadan and fasting. And initially we had mentioned that the first two, we have 3 classes remaining. This is one of the 3. 2 classes will be on Ramadan and 1 on Zakaah. But how it's looking like the 3 would be on Ramadan. So inshallah we'll see how it goes. And even though the camera is here, we still have a class, right? Question, answer. There's not a lecture or bayan. So the benefit, we start with what? The benefit and the wisdom of fasting. Alright, as I mentioned, we'll leave all the introduction. Yes, understand Ramadan is the biggest event of the year. It is the biggest event in the life of a believer. Alright? That is the biggest event for the year. But we're not going into the virtues. There are countless virtues of Ramadan. That is why there are khutab and khutbahs before Ramadan, the entire month of Ramadan, after Ramadan, pertaining to Ramadan. But as I mentioned, we'll speak about the fiqh aspect, the laws. From the benefit and wisdom behind fasting, alright, many a times you will hear, and we try to clarify many things also. Many a time, we'll hear that, the wisdom of fasting is this, the wisdom of fasting is that. Allah Azza wa Jal, He mentions in the Quran also, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you will become pious, God-fearing, you would have piety. And then we have the medical benefits. But at the end of the day, why we fast? We don't fast because of the wisdom behind fasting. We fast because there's a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Hakim, the all-wise. And all of His commands are full of wisdom. That is irregardless if we acknowledge these wisdoms or we don't acknowledge. And most of the wisdom we don't acknowledge. We don't know. Right? So we fast because it is the command of Allah Azza wa Jal. Man shahida minkum ash-shahra falyasum. That person who witnesses the month of Ramadan, he would fast. A person can say, you know what? Allah Azza wa Jal mentions لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you will become pious. And a person thinking for himself now, but I can be pious and righteous without fasting. No, understand, piety is what? Is following the commands of Allah Azza wa Jal. That is piety. A person, he don't feel pious. I feel like he's feeling pious and righteous. No, piety and righteousness is following the commands of Allah Azza wa Jal. That is piety and is righteousness. The rewards for fasting, and this is a small introduction, we'll go. The rewards for fasting, there are many rewards for fasting, but the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he mentioned that every action a person does, as the son of Adam he does, yudha'af. Every good deed, his rewards is multiplied. وَالْحَسَنَ بِعَشْرِ أَمْثَالِهَا إِلَى 700 ضِعْف. And that hasana, that good deed is multiplied 10 times until 700 times. But Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned illa as-sawm, except fasting. Except fasting. فَإِنَّهُ لِي وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ. Fasting is for me, and I will give its reward. Meaning what? Every single action there's what a stipulated amount of reward. There's even though it is multiplied and multiplied, it is a stipulated amount of reward. It is known to the angel, it is known. But that reward of fasting, if it is done solely for the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal, then only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He alone, He knows that reward. That amount of reward, it lies with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَإِنَّهُ لِي, it is for me. If you perform in salah, we can see that this person is performing salah. A person is reciting Quran, yes, we can see he is reciting Quran. But if that person is fasting, how we know he is fasting? That is between him and between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Innahu li, that is what khas li, that is specific for me. Wa ana ajzi bi, and I would reward that person. And that amount of reward lies with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That person believes what? Eating, drinking, all his what? Shahwa desire for me, for my sake. The rewards for fasting, a huge amount of rewards. What is fasting? We say, what is fasting? Fasting, the linguistic meaning of fasting is to refrain. Right? Fasting is to refrain. The fasting at the time of, if you look at what, the time of what, Isa alayhi salam, the time of Maryam alayhi salam, she fasted. But her fast was what? Adamul kalam. Right? Not speaking, to refrain from speaking, that was their fast. Our fast, al-imsak al-muftirat. A person, he refrains from the nullifiers of fast. And we have a whole session with that, inshallah. A person, he refrains from the nullifiers of fast from the break of dawn until sunset with the intent to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is fasting. A person, he refrains from those things that nullify the fast, al-muftirat, as-salat, the three nullifiers of fast. He refrains from that from the break of dawn until sunset, lillah, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if a person were to refrain from eating and drinking and marital relation from the break of dawn until what? Sunset, but he's only looking at what the medical benefit, right? He's only doing it solely for the medical purpose, the medical benefit, then what? Does he have a fast? Right? If he's doing it lillah, but understand something here, a person, a Muslim, right? We as Muslims, we do everything what? We do lillah. So if a person fasting and is looking at the medical benefits also, that doesn't what deny the fact that he's fasting lillah. He's fasting for the medical benefits also, but his fast is lillah, for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. So that is also what? That is what considered fasting, and that is an act of ibadah. You will not find a believer fasting solely for what? The medical benefit and not for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will not find that. Just like in Qurbani, you will not find a person what? Slaughtering solely and purely and entirely for the meat and not for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. You're not going to find that, right? You're not going to find that a person here he will slaughter lillah and the meat, whatever he wants to do with it. Even though, as we mentioned earlier, other classes, even if you hear a person say, you know what, my meat, I'm going to make tikka, qurbani, biryani and this and that, and see, any food this man speaking about. But understand, that doesn't negate the fact that he's in lillah. And to begin with, Nabi alayhi salam, he mentioned that is a day tushtaha fihi al-luhum. That is a day in which people what? Are desirous of eating meat. Anyhow, we go back to the topic. So that is what? Fasting, the definition of fasting. Who is obligated to fast? Fasting is obligatory. Upon whom? And we understand that fasting is what? A pillar of Islam. When Nabi alayhi salam mentions Bunyan Islamu ala khams, he mentioned wasawmu Ramadan, the fasting in the month of Ramadan. So fasting in the month of Ramadan is obligatory upon each and every individual that meets what these requirements. You have what is called fardu ayn, meaning obligatory upon each and every individual, and that is what is called fard kifaya. Kifaya in the sense that if a few people were to do it in the community, it would absorb the others. That is like janazah. A few people do it, right? That would what absolve the others of that obligation. Right? Fasting is not like that. Fasting is like salah. Salah is not fard kifaya. Salah is fardu ayn upon every individual. Because I can't make it for dhuhr today. Do I dhuhr for mina? No. Or your dhuhr would suffice for the people in the community? No. Upon each and every individual. So that person who is what? Obviously a Muslim, aqil, baligh. Aqil means what? He is sane. Baligh, he is what? Ritually mature. So the difference between bulugh and puberty. Puberty, the signs of bulugh. Okay, a person what? There's a person what? Reaching the age of puberty doesn't necessarily mean what that person is baligh. According to the Sharia, that person is ritually what? Mature. If that person had a wet dream, right? He has a wet dream, and that person was ejaculated, right? Or if he were to get married, he was impregnated a woman, his wife. These are the signs of yani bulugh. And if a person, there's no signs apparent, then when that person reaches what? 15 years, this is for what? 15 years, he is considered to be what? Baligh. In the case of a girl, the moment she sees her menstrual cycle, she becomes baligh. And if there's none of these signs are prevalent, then what? 15 years, according to the Hanafi madhab, 15 years, that person is considered to be baligh. What is a baligh person? That person is what now? Mukallaf. That person is now what? Subjected to the laws of the Sharia. That person now is subjected to the laws of Sharia. And when we speak about 15 years, it's not 15 solar years, it's 15 lunar years. So check it, 15 years, listen, it's not 15 solar years, so don't wait for your 15th birthday. No, that is about nearly 14 years and 5-6 months, right? That is what? Yani bulugh. So it becomes obligatory upon that individual. And understand what is something is obligatory as we sit and we listen to the benefits of fasting and the rewards for fasting. But when something is obligatory upon a person, what does that mean? He doesn't have a choice. We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice, okay, to perform Maghrib today and we don't perform Maghrib today. We don't have a choice. When something is obligatory, it means that what? It must be done, it must be performed. Yes, unless there are certain what? Exemptions. But generally, a person, when something is obligatory, something that person he has to do. So, a person, if fasting is obligatory upon a person, he must fast. A person leaving out fast, understand? And this is mentioned by the Imam Al-Zahabi. He mentions in his book Al-Kaba'ir, Major Sins. He mentioned that a person who deliberately, intentionally leaves off a fast without any valid Shari'i reason, then that person is worse than a person who drinks alcohol and fornicates. If a person intentionally, without a valid reason, he leaves out fasting, understand? Sometimes we think a sin is what? When we do something. A sin is also when we don't do something. That is a sin. We look at that person, what he's what? Consuming alcohol. Look at that person, how he's behaving, how he's cursing, how he's gambling. Look at those actions. These are what? Sins. But the other person, he's not performing salah, he's not fasting, and he think that he is what? Righteous, and people just feel pious, I don't know. A person not performing salah deliberately. A person not fasting in the month of Ramadan intentionally without any valid reason, he is worse off than what we just mentioned. He is worse off. That is a greater sin. That is a bigger sin. Now, if we understand that fasting, understand is not only a compulsion, it is a fundamental aspect in Islam. So, and this is very important, this is connected to our aqidah, our belief. If a person doesn't fast because of negligence, because of dha'ful iman, weak iman, or because of laziness, yes, that person becomes a fasiq, a fajr, Sammi ma shit. Whatever you want to call him, a transgressor. But yes, he's still a Muslim. He is still a Muslim, and he is still in the fold of Islam. He didn't fast, not fasting, not performing salah. But that person who doesn't fast, here we speak about fasting. He doesn't fast and he negates the compulsion of fasting. What he does, he negates the compulsion of fasting. Fasting is not compulsory. I don't believe you have to fast. Fasting is a waste of time. Fasting is for people who don't have nothing to do. Fasting is for people who not working. Fasting is, he negates the compulsion of fasting. And after what that person would negates the compulsion of fasting, and proof and evidence is brought before that person, listen, fasting is obligatory. And he still denies, that person leaves the fold of Islam. That person becomes an apostate, a murtad. He becomes a disbeliever. Even though he calls himself a Muslim. وَإِنْ زَعَمَ أَنَّهُ Muslim. Even though he calls himself a Muslim and he may do other acts or rituals in Islam. This is very important. Understand the distinction. A person who was not performing, not fasting, not performing salah because of laziness, negligence, but he knows what it is compulsory, but he doesn't perform salah, he doesn't fast. The other person, he's negating the compulsion. You don't have to fast. I don't believe in fasting. Why should I fast for? And these statement negates the compulsion of fasting. This pillar of Islam, he negates the compulsion of salah, the first salah. Then this person, he leaves the fold of Islam. He leaves the fold of Islam. He's a murtad. That is why Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, one of the reasons why he waged war against certain people afterward, the demise of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, those who negated, a group of them who negated Zakah. No, we only pay Zakah at the time of the Prophet alayhi salam. We give him our Zakah, we pay Zakah to him. Now he has passed on, he has died, there's no Zakah again. Right? So one group, they negate the compulsion of Zakah. These are the murtad. And those the other group, somewhat didn't negate the compulsion of Zakah, but they didn't want, they saw that the Zakah, we would distribute our own Zakah. Right? Anyhow, we come back to the point here. So, fasting is obligatory upon these people, as we mentioned, these are the conditions. And yes, there always exemptions to the rule. And these exemptions mentioned in the Sharia. Who is exempted from fasting? Who is exempted from fasting? The exemptions here are safar, journey. Right? A person is a musafir. When we speak about a musafir by definition of the Sharia. By definition of Sharia, he's a musafir, he's a traveler. Right? You ask a person, where you going? I say, I'm traveling. So where you going? Like, he going to San Fernando. You're traveling? Yes, he's traveling, but he's not a traveler by definition of the Sharia, right? A person travels 88 kilometers, 88 kilometers, right? He becomes a musafir, and the law is connected to what safar. We're not going to explain here, right? But a person who's a musafir by definition of Sharia, yes, he is given allowance to delay the fast, right? Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned in kuntum marada aw ala safarin. Right? A person Person sick or a person who is on journey, then he's given, he can delay. Iddatun min ayyam ukhar. Other days he can make up. He's allowed to delay the fast, and he would make up in other days that he is not traveling, he's not a traveler. Right? So here now many people ask the question, so what about, we understand those who travel for a valid reason. What about those who travel for just relaxation, entertainment, or whatever the purpose, whatever the reason for traveling be? That person is given that exemption. He's exempted. Meaning what? He has that allowance, that concession. He could fast if he wants, and he can delay that fast if he wants. So whether regardless of the purpose of that journey, the purpose of that safar, he is given that allowance, right? Yes, and we understand the month of Ramadan is a blessed month, right? So even though that allowance is there, we should spend the month of Ramadan in the khalas, utilize the month of Ramadan. Vacation could come on next time, right? So suffer a journey that is what? That is something that would allow or permit a person to delay the fast of Ramadan, right? Those days in which he is a traveler. But understand, if we go back to the definition of fasting, right? A person who refrains from what? The nullifiers, invalidators of fast from the break of dawn until sunset. So the exemption or the allowance concession given to that traveler is that what? At the time, at the break of dawn, if he's a traveler, that at that time you look and see if he's a traveler at that time, then the allowance is given. For example, listen, a person is traveling, but he's traveling what? He would be a musafir and a traveler at 8 o'clock in the morning. Right? His flight, what? He's leaving to go 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, then he's not given that allowance. He must keep the fast. Why? Because at the break of dawn, he is a resident. At the break of dawn, he is a resident. Right? So being a resident, he does not have that allowance. He must fast. He does not have a choice. Even though he is what? Traveling 8 o'clock. He's traveling 7 o'clock. He's traveling 6 o'clock. Anytime he becomes what? A traveler after the break of dawn, he's not given that concession. Right? He's not given that concession. Yes, if what? The journey actually starts 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and in that journey there's difficulty. Right? A person cannot assume it's going to be difficult. Right? Even though he assumes it's going to be difficult, right? He must fast. Why? Because at the break of dawn he's a resident. But if that person actually what undergoes what difficulty, and it becomes difficult for him in what? Observing the fast while traveling, and to the extent that what he cannot, he's thirsty or hungry, and he cannot move forward, right? Then the allowance is there to break the fast, right? The allowance is there to break the fast. But our traveling today is not like that. Listen, traveling is easier than working, right? It's easier than being a resident. So there's the first exemption, a traveler, musafir, safar, journey. The second is pregnancy. There's whatever sequence, right? Pregnancy. But it doesn't mean that, listen, the moment a woman becomes pregnant, that is concession. No. Right? And this is a misconception. Some women feel or they believe, they assume that the moment they become pregnant, this is a reason to refrain from fasting. No. Only if fasting, right, if that pregnant woman, if the fasting it would cause harm to herself or the child, only then allowance is given. Alright? Only then there's allowance. If by what? That pregnant woman, if she were to observe the fast, it's going to cause harm to herself or the child, only then there's allowance. So it's not like, okay, the moment she becomes pregnant, this is what? Automatic any impediment or automatic any pass or allowance to refrain from fasting. No. Only if she fears harm to herself and harm to the child, right? And this is normally known by, listen, I feel and I feel, no, and you consult your doctor. And you know what? Consult a Muslim doctor. At least they would know the importance of fasting, right? A professional doctor, if not a Muslim doctor, but better Muslim doctor would be aware of the importance of fasting, right? And they would advise, right? They would advise. And listen, there are plenty tips, right? Pregnant woman, the third one is a nursing woman. Yes, first consult the doctor. Yes, that woman, she may have what past experience, when she was pregnant, this and if she were to refrain from fasting, is what happened, right? But there are certain tips, listen. Like for suhoor, she eats that, that has nutrients and certain amount of nourishment, alright? Look at what they eat for what suhoor in the morning, and during the day leave the cleaning and cobwebbing and washing and scrubbing. Relax yourself. Relax yourself. In the evening time you want to cook all these set of meals and this and that. Listen, when you're fasting, anything you cook is still good when you break your fast. Right? So understand over here. The whole point is what? We understand the importance of what? Fasting. Right? If we put all these things in place, and you know what? It's still difficult. That is something else. Right? But listen, eat proper in the morning. Eat things that are nutritious in the morning, right? And look, during the day, take rest and this and that and whatever, and inshallah, you know. But as I mentioned, that is after consulting your doctor, right? Understand, the doctor can't give you a fatwa, you know. No, what he will tell you, right? What he will tell you, you cannot refrain from eating. You must have this. You must have this in intervals after 2 hours, 3 hours, and based on that, now, okay, then we could say, you know what? There's concession here, there's allowance, right?
The only allowance is if it will cause harm to them, or is there any allowance like in later stages of pregnancy, just when the baby born or when the baby born kind of thing? Any allowances for the time? Or just
no, right, true. You know what? Once it causes harm, right? Every woman different, right? The pregnancy of every woman will be different. Her complications, her condition will be different, right? And generally, in the beginning, the woman I want to speak on behalf of the woman. The first semester, in the beginning, right? That is not a big issue, right? They can what? Manage that, right? Unless listen, a doctor mentioned this, no, based on your condition, based on your medical condition, you need to do so, and like that. So we take the advice, right? If what a woman just feel that, listen, I think I should refrain from fasting, right? And the medical expert is saying no, there's no harm, then we follow what the medical, the expert, unless that woman she has past experience, you know, the last trimester or this time that, you know, like that. But just to say she's not fasting because she's pregnant, no, that is not a valid reason, right? Similarly, Similarly, with a nursing woman, a woman who's nursing her child, right? A woman who's nursing her child, and she fears that, listen, if she were to fast, it will cause harm to herself, the milk coming, cause harm to the child not getting enough milk, this and that. Allowance is there, right? But it's not like, okay, the moment she starts nursing the child, that is an automatic exemption. No. The illa over here, the reason over here is what? Fear. Fear for herself, fear for her child. There's no fear for herself, there's no fear for her child, and there's no exemption. So that's the third one, exemption. The fourth, sickness. Alright? Sickness, when you speak about sickness, you know, if a person wants to fast, it will what? It will cause harm to the health of that person. Physical what? Being of that person, the health of that person. In the sense that if he were to fast, he will become very ill. Exempted. If he were to fast, then what? His illness would increase. Or if he were to fast, that would prolong the period of what? Recovery. Right? For example, the doctor says you will recover in 1 or 2 months. But if you were to fast, it will take about 6 months to a year. I will always go back to the experts. Right? So sickness, what? A person were to fast, he would get sick. Alright? If he were to fast, his sickness would increase. If he were to fast, that what? The duration of what? Recovery would be prolonged. Yes, he's exempted for that time. Alright? He's exempted for that time. And understand, if a person genuinely is sick, right? We got that person, hey, you're not sick. You're feeling sick, you know. You're looking sick, you know. Yeah, we tell the students that because everything for them, you know, they're sick, right? So we tell them that we know when they're sick and when they're playing, all right? But that person, listen, he is sick. And the fasting will take a toll on him in the sense that one of these three we mentioned here. Alright? Then a person shouldn't think that what? Righteousness and piety demands that I fast. No, I'm bearing that sickness, I'm bearing that pain. I'm undergoing that sickness and that pain for the pleasure of Allah. No, that's not ibadah. Allah Azza wa Jalla la yahtaj ila mithli hadhi al-ibadah. Allah Azza wa Jalla is not in need of this type of ibadah. And like a person he cannot make sajda, then he will do ishara. But no, I take in all that pain and I go in the ground and I put on my forehead lillah. How people talk? No, that's not piety. That is not piety, that is not righteousness. So a person cannot fast because of sickness, right? And then that person is exempted, right? Concession is given to that person, allowance is given to that person. Piety is not grinding that sickness and bearing that pain to fast. No. And when we speak about sickness also, alright, we're speaking about that type of sickness in which fasting will have an adverse effect on the sickness itself. For example, a person sick, right? But it has nothing to do with fasting. Meaning if he were to fast or don't fast, he would still have that sickness. A person has such a sickness but is not connected to fast, right? If he were to fast, he would still get pain. If he were to not fast, he would still get the same pain. It has nothing to do with fasting. So we're not speaking about that type of sickness. And also we're not speaking about a sickness that is bearable. A person I can't fast because I just get belly pain. Yeah, it must get belly pain, but that's bearable, right? I can't fast because I just get headache, right? Some people, subhanallah, so why he can't fast? So why I can't fast? Because I just get hungry. I just get hungry. So these things are not any exemptions. And some people say, wait now, how they could fast? Do eat and drink for the whole day? If you try it, then you'll see. Right? So that's what sickness.
Somebody fasting and I take insulin.
Right. So that upcoming session we'll discuss that in detail. But no, that would not nullify the fast. Right? A person can fast while taking insulin. Or you can take insulin and fast. That will not nullify the fast. Very good. Alright? So listen, those who are exempted from fasting, they're given allowance, the traveler, the pregnant woman, the nursing woman, the sick person, right? All of these people who are given any concession and allowance, it doesn't mean that they must refrain from fasting. No, they're given concession is given to them. Allowance is given for them to observe the fast or delay the fast. If they choose to keep the fast, observe the fast, then it will be valid. That fast will be valid. But as you mentioned, a person sick or a person has to go on journey, a very tiresome, any difficult journey, right? Then the Prophet ﷺ mentioned there's no any piety and righteousness in a person any traveling and fasting. And so at that time, our time the traveling is very easy, right? But that person undergoing difficulty and hardship, right? No. The allowance is given. Allah Azza wa Jalla give us the concession, the allowance, then we take the allowance. Severe hunger or thirst. For example, a person is fasting, right? Now he experiences severe hunger and thirst. And listen, you have to be truthful to yourself. A person 2 hours here, he ain't eat, and if he's going to die, oh gosh, you have to eat something, you have to drink something, you won't die, 2 hours you won't die. We speak about genuine, real conditions. A person he experiences hunger and thirst, for example, listen, if a person fasting and is working under the hot sun, laborious work, it is a possibility, alright? But generally, If what? The hunger is not to that extent, or the thirst is not to that extent, that person what he continues, right? But if a person experiences severe hunger, taste, and thirst, right? That would allow him, right? That would allow him to what? To break the fast, right? And understand here, when you break the fast, if understand the allowance, the allowance is given biqadarihi, to that extent. So if that is your scenario, that is your case, right? All you're allowed to do is what? Drink that amount that will remove the hunger. Listen to a box of barbecue. No, you're not allowed that. That amount of water will remove the thirst. That is all that person is allowed. Right? Yes, the fast is nullified, except that he will refrain from eating and drinking until sunset. Alright? And that is a rule, understand? We'll explain that in details in the upcoming session, but just as it is over here, all those people who are exempted from fasting we mentioned earlier on, right? Except what? The traveler, for example, listen, a person what? He broke his fast, right? Unintentionally, mistakenly, whatever. In this case, because of severe what? A person what broke his fast because of severe hunger, thirst, right? He not allowed to what? Eat until sunset. No. He eats that amount, right? That what they need, remove that thirst and hunger, that severe thirst or hunger, and he refrain from eating and drinking until what? Sunset. Similarly, if a person were to break his fast accidentally, there's a difference between accidentally and what? Forgetfully. Forgetfully, there's concession there. If a person accidentally what? Breaks his fast, right? Fast nullified, but you know what? He still has to refrain from eating and drinking until what? Sunset, and he will have to do qada and make up for that fast. Yes.
People who have like blood sugar issues and they need to eat every so often, otherwise they start acting feverish.
Right, so this it would go back to what? The medical experts. Yes, you consult them, alright? Don't listen to the man in the masjid. Hey, put your trust in Allah, boy. Don't study them doctors. You fast. No. You consult the medical doctors, right? We have a question there?
This is considered sick. One brother was sick, this happened some years ago back. I don't know what sickness he had. He went to the doctor. His intention was to fast. Fast was a Tuesday. Fast, he said, was good. Even after he breaks fast, he had to go and be a fire and so. And go home, right? Backed out. A lot of Muslims will sponsor the man for the free side. Okay, doctor let him go fast, he fasted. I say his intention was to fast and he knew he could make it the day comfortable. At the end of the day, he breaks fast, he was good, everything was good, he was good. He died because he didn't fast.
Right, it's time come to get to go, right? But listen, at the end of the day, if a person he has severe medical issues, medical condition. Listen, if the Quran mentions a person muhtar, right? A person in dire need, he's allowed to consume that which is normally haram. Because of what? Severe hunger, right? A person would die if he doesn't what? So he's allowed, right? So the son over here, as I mentioned in the beginning, piety and righteousness is what is just following the commands of Allah Azza wa Jal. That is piety and righteousness, right? That condition that person is in. Who placed him in that condition? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Understand? We're going to speak about the menstruated woman. Yes, a person a woman, she can take tablets, she can take medication to stop her cycle. And you know what? I want to enjoy the blessed month of Ramadan, get the 30 days. No. It is allowed, yes, but listen. A woman who is in a state of tahara and cleanliness, the command is that she fasts and she'll be rewarded for her fasting. A woman in a state of a menstrual cycle, the command is refrain from fasting and she'll be rewarded. At the end of the day is following the commands of Allah Azza wa Jal. That is what being a Muslim. Right? So it's not I'm going to bear the pain and go down for sajda, I'm going to bear the pain and fast. No, Allah Azza wa Jal is not in need of such ibadah. Right? Why? Because he has given us the concession. So that person fails to take the concession given to us by Allah Azza wa Jalla, then what? Right? So the sixth exemption is menstruation, a menstruated woman. But this different from the rest. How is different from the rest? The beginning, what we mentioned in the beginning, concession given. So what? They are allowed to keep the fast, they are allowed to delay the fast. And if they were to observe the fast, it will be valid. A menstruated woman is not given that option. She cannot fast. She's not allowed to fast. Right? She's not allowed to fast, she cannot fast. And if she fasts, she will be sinful. Right? And she will do the qada of each fast that she was in that state. And sin, as we mentioned earlier, if that woman, she becomes what? Her menstrual cycle comes to an end during the day of Ramadan. During the daytime and the time before sunset, she becomes tahir or tahira. The cycle has come to an end, then she must refrain from eating, drinking, marital relation until sunset. Yes, she has to make up for that. Yes, she has to make up for that, but she still has to refrain from what? The nullifiers of fast until sunset. Also, a woman, if what? She's fasting in the month of Ramadan and her menses begins, right? Her menses in the comments, then she will have to do qada for that day. And such a woman, yes, she's allowed to eat and drink. Such a woman, she's allowed to eat and drink, except it should not be done in public. So we understand the difference between the first scenario and the second scenario. The first scenario is what? She was in the state of any haid, she was in the menstruation cycle, she's not allowed to fast. Now she becomes clean, pure, tahir. She what? She must refrain from eating and drinking. Understand? Because fasting is what? La yatajazza, sawm la yatajazza. Meaning, so fasting is not in parts, like how we say, how much hours you fast for? I fast for 2 hours, I fast for half day. That is not a fast, but yes, that's how we encourage children. But fast is what? It's not in parts. It's from what? The break of dawn straight until what? Sunset. Right until sunset. So if that woman now, she becomes what? Clean. Say 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, anytime before sunset, right? She cannot fast for a portion of the day. That is not considered. She'll have to make up for the entire day, but yet refrain from eating and drinking until sunset. As opposed to what? A woman who was fasting in the month of Ramadan and her menstrual cycle what came. Right? That fast will be what? Broken. She'll have to do cover for that fast. Right? But except she's allowed to what? Eat and drink as normal. Right? Except she should not do it in public. And if, for example, what? Sunset, just before sunset, this woman, she's observing her fast. Just before sunset, the cycle what? Came. Just before sunset, the cycle came. That entire fast is now invalidated, nullified, and she'll have to do cover for it. Now, okay. And listen, it's very important. If what? A woman, she has to do qada for all her what? Missed fast. She doesn't have to qada for what? The salah that she misses in that state. But the fasting on the month of Ramadan. So it's very important. Take note, record, right? Take note and record how much this time, that time, so she will know exactly how many qada she has to make.
So just as the qada of salat, we have to make up for whatever salat we would have missed. Is it the same for fasting? Whatever fasting we would have missed from years ago?
The same ruling, alright? So then after the obvious question, but I can't remember how much. Estimate, alright? Estimate, okay. I became baligh 19, whatever year, right? That's some older than 19, right? Now how about 2000? And this 2000 and that. Listen, whatever, right? So when a person, he estimated, listen, when I came back, about 5 years after or 10 years after I start practicing, so they would know. And now and then I would fast a few days, so they would estimate. You need to estimate and, work with that. Same thing for salah. Estimate it and work like that. So a person cannot say, listen, I don't know. Yes, you don't know. But you have to estimate, like what, for example, what? Zakaah. Everyone has what in it? A Zakaah anniversary. You don't give Zakaah. When is Zakaah due? My Zakaah due in Ramadan. No, it must be a specific date. Right? What date is that? That date you first became Sahibun Nisab. But most people can't remember the first time they possessed the Nisab. Fix a date. That is why what most people, what they give Zakah in Ramadan. Why? Because they can't remember the date. When they become what? First Sahibun Nisab, the possessor of the Nisab. So just fix a date and work with that onwards. So that's why most people, what they give Zakah in Ramadan. Otherwise, if a person, he knows exactly when, right? Then he should not what? Delay giving his Zakah if it is due before Ramadan. Alright? Unless he thinks that in Ramadan he would find what more deserving people. Right? So we come back to the topic here now. Exemption. So this is not an exemption, but we just have this heading here. What about strenuous and laborious work, hard work, construction, mixing concrete? Alright? So many times we hear that. Right? Understand? We need to understand carefully, right? And many times people, they have this misconception. Understand? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He commanded us to fast. Right? He commanded us to fast. Is it that what? We say that, oh Allah, you command us to fast, but it is impossible for us to fast. So then that command of Allah Azza wa Jal wal-'iyadhu billah is void of what? Hikmah and wisdom wal-'iyadhu billah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He command us to fast. And you know what? He command us to work also. He command us to seek a livelihood. To seek a livelihood is obligatory. We have to seek a livelihood to maintain ourselves and our family. That is what obligatory. So is it that between what the two commands of Allah Azza wa Jal there's conflict? Wal-'iyadhu billah? No. There's no conflict between what the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a person, yes, he has to seek a livelihood, and yet he has to fast. He must fast. So there's no work that what we can say there's a work that prevents a person from fasting. There's no work like that. If there's any work like that, what you leave that work. And you know what? You don't have to leave that work. Right? If we understand the importance of what? Ramadan, that is the most important thing. We just understand the importance of Ramadan, we can work around it. We can make arrangement. Right? Many people, they take their leave when? At the end of the year. Yes, at the end of the year, they want their leave at the end of the year. And Ramadan, boy, real hard to fast. No. Right? Listen. A person, he can make arrangement, right? Boss, listen, just give me half the amount of salary for that month if you want to maintain your job, right? You make some type of, boss, listen, I will make it up what? After Ramadan and the Saturdays and Sundays. I will even come in with public holidays. I will go overtime after Ramadan to make up. Listen, the boss, they have a heart to it now, right? We can make arrangement, to facilitate that, right? Ramadan comes first, the command of Allah Azza wa Jalla comes first, everything else afterwards. We don't cut Ramadan and cut the commands of Allah Azza wa Jalla to suit what? The needs of what? Other people, right? That is totally what? Impermissible, right? So a person cannot say because of work, right? Because of work he cannot what? Fast, right? He must make arrangement. Listen, people what? Save their money to spend at the end of the year. You know what? I'm going to save my money to spend on Ramadan. Why? Because my work, I really can't work in Ramadan. So during the year now I would save that money, right? So that what? When I'm not working in Ramadan, I can utilize that. Listen, the first person what? Sit and he plans properly, he can what? Get around that, right? He can get around that. And anybody in the area have any work that they say, well, it's going to prevent them from fasting, we have a little sitting with them, right? Inshallah, we are sorted. But at the end of the day, listen, you have to what? You have to want it. You have to what? want to do it, right? Otherwise, we'll always have excuses. Simple one, as what performing salah. Many people, they make excuse, I can't perform salah because I have to work. What work is there on the face of the earth that will prevent that person from performing salah? And the boss give you allowance to go and eat. But you want to take your whole hour eating and all talking, and afterwards, boss, I can go and pray? No, the boss say I can't pray. And you allowed to use the washroom? How long it take to use the washroom? How long it take to offer what 4 rakah? Fast. So there's no work like that. We just have to understand the importance. Yes, the ulama, they mention, if it comes to a situation where a person, he has nothing, he doesn't have what food for that day, he doesn't have. And the only work he can do is what? Or the only work available is that type of work which is very difficult and laborious, right? Still, he's not allowed to break his fast. But if while doing that work, that thirst and hunger, that kicks in to that extent that is unbearable, yes, he's allowed to break the fast. Yes, he's allowed to break the fast then. But if we look at our situation is not like that, right? Sometimes we have savings, we have money, we can live for that month, right? We can live for that month, we don't have to work, right? We're not saying don't work, but listen, we need to make arrangements. We need to make arrangements. This is the month of Ramadan, give it what first priority. And that is why the preparation for Ramadan is not what just before Ramadan, is way before Ramadan. Put things in place, right? Put things in place. Like how the non-Muslims, for months ahead they plan what? They plan in Carnival. Months ahead they plan in what? Their Christmas. Months ahead. But sometimes when we see the mood for Ramadan, we go to plan for Ramadan. No, we plan months ahead too. So that is that. Now, these what we just mentioned are really temporary exemption, traveling and this and that. These are what temporary, meaning what they will find other days in which they are not fasting, not in the state of menses, not sick, right? They are also what permanent exemptions. And from the permanent exemption is what a person he has what a chronic illness, right? A chronic illness that will prevent him from fasting, right? Because of what if we know that what fasting entails, refrain from what? Eating, drinking until the break of dawn, until sunset. Then a person has such a chronic disease, a chronic illness, and he has he needs oral intake of medicine and this and that and whatever. He cannot fast. I'm going to say chronic mean what? That will prolong until so long as he live. This you're going to live with that until they die. So in that case, he's not going to find better days. He's not going to find better days whereby he can fast. So such a person, he will give fidya. For each fast, he will give fidya. Right? And this is what the doctor mentioned. Listen, such a sickness that you have, such a disease, such an illness, this will last until what? It is perpetual, continuous until you die. He would give fidya for each one. Each fast, he will give you any fidya. But if, for example, there's shifa, cure is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If the doctor did mention that, right? And after 5 years, after 3 years, after a period of time, that person becomes cured, right? He becomes cured, and he paid fidya for 3 years, meaning for 3 months. 3 Ramadan in 3 years, 3 months. But now he has health, he's able to fast. Then that what he gave, that is what? Sadaqah. He has to do qadha now. He has to make up for it. He cannot say, you know what, that 3 years that went, that fidya would suffice for that. No, it will not suffice. That money, khalas, inshallah, he will get the reward of sadaqah, but he has to make up for it. He has to do qadha. That is the first permanent exemption. The second permanent exemption is old age, right? Understand? Not because I reach 15 or so I can stop fasting. I reach 16. No, that person gets so old, and every day passes, he gets weaker and weaker, right? That person, a Sheikh Al-Fani, an old person that that fasting will take a toll on that person. You're not going to find better days, right? You're not going to find better days. Every single day that goes by, he's getting what, more weak and more feeble. That person is exempted from fasting. He will give what? Fidya for every miss. Not every miss, but for every fast. So the month of Ramadan has what? 30 days, he will give what? Fidya for 30 days. 29 days, he will give what? 29 days. Alright? And fidya is the same as what? Sadaqatul fitr. Right? The same amount of Sadaqatul fitr. But before we mention fidya, understand, a person becoming sick, a person traveling, a person becoming ill, person in old age, understand, the treasures of Allah Azza wa Jalla is what? Unlimited. Yes, you work to get paid. If you don't work, normally what? You're not going to get paid. It doesn't work like this with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person, an able-bodied person, he fasts in the month of Ramadan, what? He does what? Good deeds and action. He has that. He has health. He has strength. That's what he does. He worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright? When that person becomes sick, right? When that person goes on a journey and is not able to do the things that he would normally do while he's a resident, or that person that was sick and is not able to do those things that he used to do, while those acts of ibadah, those were good deeds, while he was, when he was healthy, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from His infinite grace and mercy commands the angel to write all that he used to do while he was healthy. Write all that he used to do when he was a resident. And this is our investment. This is your pension. So listen, they have two people, both of them sick. Both of them cannot fast. And that sickness will prolong until they die. So both of them will give fidya. So right now, khalas, both of them, this is what their condition. Except one of them, when he had health, he used to fast. Now he cannot fast. He will still be getting all those rewards, even though he's not fasting. He will be getting all those rewards for that fast, even though he's not fasting. Why? Because he used to fast when he had the health. As for the second person, he cannot fast now, and that because of a sickness, and that sickness will prolong until he dies, right? Except that when he had the health, he never used to fast, so nothing coming in his account. Nothing coming in his account. So this is our investment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave us life, He gave us health, He gave us these ni'am and these favors, and if we utilize it in a way pleasing to Him, khalas, for His sake, then when it goes away, when the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, take advantage of 5 before 5. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He takes away these ni'am and these favors, He doesn't take away the blessing. The blessing still, the reward still comes into the account.
So if somebody has a temporary illness,
that's what I wanted.
Somebody has a temporary illness, like a surgery or something that prevents you from fasting, you're not supposed to give fidya?
No fidya. A pregnant woman cannot give fidya for her misfast. A menstruating woman, a person traveling, no. These are temporary exemption, right? Why? Because they would find days where they are not sick, right? So a sick person cannot give fidya, right? A sick person gives sadaqah, give charity instead. Otherwise, that fidya would not be in lieu of that misfast. He or she would still have to make up for that fast. We need two scenarios here where a person can give fidya, right? Or actually one scenario where a person he cannot fast. He cannot fast, and him being unable to fast, that would continue until he dies. And we give the example of a person who has a chronic illness that would be continuous with him until he dies. And we spoke about that Sheikh Al-Fani, that old man, right? Finish it now? So fidya, understand the fidya is the same as what you give sadaqatul fitr, right? Yes, listen, check it, you can check it yourself. You don't have to wait until you call this one and you call that one. Simple. Sadaqatul fitr, just check. 1.6 1.6 kg of wheat flour, alright? 1.6 kg of flour, that's equivalent then, and this half saw, right, was approximately 1.6 or 1.7 any kilo of flour or its worth, right? So a 2 kg flour is how much? If you go to the grocery, how much are you going to pay a 2 kg flour for? No way to make roti here. Bread, 16, that is a long time. About $20, right? 20, 22, depends on the brand. I think Ibis is about 20, right? Baker's is about 22, right? So if it's about $20 for 2 kgs, right? 1.6 kg would be would be $16. 1.7 kg would be what? $18, right? So you'd see what, this year you'd see what the fidya going out as $18, right? Because some places take into consideration what the price, right? Some places $22, $23 for 2 kgs, right? But Sadaqatul Fitr, if a person gives $16, that will still suffice. $17, that would suffice, right? The Darul Ulum, the Jamia, we have it as $18, right? $1 or $2 more, okay, like an issue, right? So Sadaqatul Fitr is that amount, right? Fidya, so every misfast a person gives that amount, right? He gives that amount, the value of it, or he gives it he gives it grains, alright? Whatever grains he wants to give, but it shouldn't be less than the value of 1.6 kilo of flour of wheat, which is approximately $16, $17, $18, right? And another way a person can give fidya is what? You feed what? One fast, you feed what? A poor person morning and evening. If somebody had to feed a person morning and evening, he don't want bread and this and the roti and that, right? So give your fidya, give it that. Give you $18. Because if you feed a person in the morning, that's $50. In the evening, the next $50, because right, that's $100. Anyhow, listen, why give labas? Give for the sake of Allah. But sometimes it becomes what an issue where a person, listen, they can't fast. So that's what, they cannot fast because of what old age, the reason we mentioned here, a chronic illness. And that is 29, right? We're speaking about $18, but multiply 30 fast by 18. Tanti Kapi faith, right? Uncle Kapi faith, right? 30 by 18, right? So understand that even one person cannot pay faith, it will remain what a debt in their account, right? Whenever they pay, right? One until what? It pays out, right? We got to run into Ramadan here. Right, 60, you see. We'll stop here. Or if you have 5 minutes, you say. Anybody run away? No? 5 minutes? Alright. So we spoke about, okay, that is fidya. Now the break of dawn, sunset, you can read that, right? What is the break of dawn when the sunset? And normally we use calendar. So the usage of the calendar. Why? Because yes, majority of the Muslims, what they cannot detect when is what? Actual sunset, break of dawn, right? If you put 20 people that line up and other watch the sun and tell me exactly when the sun set, you get 20 different, hey, it's set now, no, wait, I don't think. Use a calendar, right? Use a calendar. Not the solar calendar. When I say not the solar calendar, use the one where there's a precautionary time in it, right? And this is another issue people have. Hey, so why we have to use this calendar right through the year? We're using this calendar, and why we're using this one, a specific calendar to break fast, right? And it's a precaution, all right? If you look at the timings, right? If you look at the timings in Trinidad, right? I did a research on it, right? If you just look at what the Muslim World League, their calculation, right? For just Trinidad, you will find what in Trinidad, at least what, there's a variance of 2 to 3 minutes in the solar timing with regards to sunset, sunrise. Listen, high the altitude, what the longer the sun going to take to set, right? Lower the altitude, we're going to see a set. What is sunset? Understand what is sunset? I think we had right? When what that disk, right? You have this is the sun here, all right? Well, this is the top of the disk. This is the camera here, right? This is the sun here, right? This is what? This is the horizon, right? This is the horizon. So when what this disk that when it hit the horizon, that is what not sunset yet. You wait until the top disk, it vanishes in the horizon, and that is sunset, right? So yes, high the altitude, it will take a little while, a long. That's why this the Buruj, right? This big this thing will happen in Dubai over there, right? You would see from the bottom floor until a certain floor. This is your time to break fast. Higher than that, you wait a minute, and I mentioned because higher the altitude, right? The sun will set a little later, right? So anyhow, if you just look into Trinidad, you will see normally when we see. You go to the internet or you see these are perpetual solar calendars. We don't know exactly which location it is taken from, right? We have if you go look at the Muslim World League, you'd see that, for example, in Port of Spain, and this was taken a date over here, the 13th of June 2016. That's when I did the research then, right? For example, in Port of Spain, sunset was 6:28. In San Fernando, 6:27. In Scarborough, 6:26. So if you're looking at a 1 minute, that is why, hey, wait a 2 minutes, right? And the calendars and how you call it, the chart that is printed, the timetable, it takes into consideration this, right? That is why you need a 2-3 minutes precautionary time. We don't want a 5-10 minutes. No, that is too much, right? But at least to take this into consideration, to facilitate this, right? Because there we don't know exactly where, right? Where this in the solar calendar, exactly which location was taken from, all right? So sometimes even you go on a website and you see, okay, Marble, this is time in there. What about Cedros? What about even Tobago? You use the same. So if you give it a 2-3 minutes, then you're clear, all right? You're clear. So, do you see? You gotta stop. Alright, inshallah. So inshallah we'll stop here. And we'll continue the next week inshallah and the following week. These are very important, masail, very important laws that we need to understand. Right? We spoke about how we understand how important the month of Ramadan is, the amount of blessings it has. And if we learn, this is how we're going to learn to take from the month of Ramadan. Understand, and we're told with this. Despite the month of Ramadan being so blessed, Futihat Abwab al-Jannah, the doors of Jannah open, the doors of Jahannam closed, the doors of Rahmah open, and all these blessings and mercy, right? A person can live the month of Ramadan without anything. It doesn't mean that the month of Ramadan has all these blessings. A person automatically he will be blessed and he would receive that. No, he has to put himself forward. For example, rainfall to the extent that have flood all about, and this person there, he can say, he can remain dry because you remain in your house. If you remain in your house, yes, you'll be dry. No, that rain will touch you. If you have to go outside, yes, you'll get the effect of the rain. So similarly, the month of Ramadan, all its blessings that it has, if a person doesn't put himself forward to reap the benefits of that month, then khalas, that month will go, right? And he will get anything. So anyhow, inshallah, Jazakumullah khairan for gathering today. Inshallah, we'll continue next week and the following week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Subhanallah.